RWBY Volume 4, World of Remnant, Episode 5, Between Kingdoms. Now, sadly, of course, we didn't have a full episode this week. It was kind of to be expected. We've been doing this since Volume 2. We get our couple of episodes. We get, I guess 3 or 4 episodes, and then we get our break. So, with this being the first break that we had, it kind of made a lot of sense that they did, because we got a special sort of front load since this was like, finally out into the rest of the world. We got kind of front loaded with the 4 kingdoms, and then this is, of course, logically between the kingdoms. And this actually ties into, past episodes, as well as what I assume is going to be some relevant stuff for future episodes. And that mostly comes in the form of the bandits, I would say, because we got to experience one of these. Well, technically, so far we got to see 2 of these in between kingdom sort of cities. And the first one was fine. It's in the premiere episode. It's where our team goes to. They defeat this new type of Grim. They get John's new armor. And it's like, hey, thanks for taking that out. Here's your armor. They move along to the next town. We get to the next town. Everybody's pretty much dead. They've taken out like the flying ship. They killed off all the soldiers and stuff. And all these marauders, they just left. They leave, and the team comes in at the last minute. They see the random guy. They talk to him, and sadly he dies. And it seems to have a connection to, of course, Nora and Ren, as if they're either from there, or they're going to be familiar with this group of bandits because they killed their family. One or the other. I know it's got to be one of the two. So I like what they did with this one. As always, it's fairly simple, but we get a little bit of explanation as to what's going on with the world, why these smaller cities even exist, why every city isn't just like a hustling, bustling sort of thing. So it shows why they have these small towns. Maybe they don't want to deal with the crazy pressures of living within the kingdom, because that means they're a part of some of those wars that they may, that the citizens may not want to be a part of. But if you're in the kingdom, you're part of the capital, you have to deal with that stuff. Or at least, something's gonna happen if it's one of the big, overall world type of deals. You're gonna be involved in that one way or the other, or at least closer, involved than some of the people in outlying towns. And I like that idea. It's like, some people don't want to deal with that. Some people might simply not want to live within the city. They might prefer to be, farmers and stuff. Just like real life. Some people live in cities, some people live in suburbs, and some people prefer growing up and living on farms, where it's like, it's just you and maybe your 2 kids and your wife. That might be it, or whatever. So I kind of like that. I thought it was pretty cool. And it was like, most of these towns, they don't survive too long. They're gone within a year. And if they live, survive beyond that, then hopefully it's for the same reasons that the kingdom does. Or typically it is because of the same reasons. It's natural defenses. So they were smart about where they wanted to build the town. They had enough resources to make great, man-made defenses. Gatling guns were the example they showed. And then you still need fighters for when the Grim get officially within the city. You still need people to actually fight. And then it goes into some of the greater detail. Like, even with Grim, some of the things you have to look out for involve just other humans. And they come in, they wait until maybe a Grim attack, and then they attack people at nighttime. And they cause a bunch of chaos, which we've technically seen in that character profile thing for RWBY that was released at Rooster Teeth earlier this year. When they're in a town that's destroyed, it's nighttime. So it almost makes a lot of sense that either marauders came in like just before that, and then Grim came in like later in the night. It's like the middle of the night, or that could have just been a Grim attack, as well. But it made a lot of sense. The marauders come in, they take out towns, they take out resources and stuff, and then logically speaking, they move along, and that way the Grim come in. They can't be, they're gonna get followed, but they won't just be overwhelmed, because of course you attack a bunch of people, all that negative emotion, it just pulls them in. It's like a gravity well. It just pulls in all the Grim, because it's like, hey, there's a bunch of chaos over there. We should probably head that way and check it out. So marauders are of course going to be, or they just call them bandits. I don't know. I'm so used to calling them marauders now. But it should be fun. It should be very interesting, considering the fairly obvious tie. Based on the little clue they gave us, I think it's pretty obvious it's going to have a close tie to Nora and Ren. So the bandits are going to be interesting just as a random group to fight. But on the other side of things, it's just exciting in general because it's going to be new types of people. It won't be these really skilled people. It'll be lesser skilled people, but in a group, a big group. It's kind of like the Grimm, but slightly different because the Grimm typically are in groups until we get like giant dragon Grimm. But I like that idea. We're going to get to see them have to go up against a bunch of bandits, and we have 4 really skilled fighters who have, and I'm sure everyone has, aura and all that stuff, but they're much more well trained. They have higher class weapons, things like that. So I am curious how all this stuff is going to play out once they end up encountering all these bandits and what the connection, of course, is going to be story-wise. But it was cool. It was nice that they this was mostly for like, hey, here are the bandits. This is, at least that's what I felt. It was like, this is the main thing. It was like, of course, people living outside of the kingdom. It could also be just a society thing as well, like just money-wise, stuff like that, I'm sure. Especially Atlas-based. I can almost guarantee that that's what that is there. But I like this one. I thought it was pretty good, as usual. Just a little bit of information. I wish these were longer, too. Just like the episodes. I definitely always wish these were longer, because these are always, about 3 minutes long and stuff like that. Sometimes they reach 4 to 5, but it would be cool if we got some longer stories. Like, I think the longest one we've had so far was probably the 4 Maiden story. I think that was almost like the length of a full episode, actually. I feel like that was. Maybe I'd have to go back and see it and it would just be like a 5-minute one, but it was a really long one compared to the others. But I think that one was about at least almost 10 minutes or something. It was a pretty long one, but still fun. It's as short as it is. It was still good. And they do that, actually. They do that quite a bit, where they drop those little hints in, like, oh, this is the story we're telling for this moment. And there's always a reason they tell certain World of Remnant stories between certain episodes. So I feel like the clue is that, bandits are going to be coming up. They do, of course, have a reference. I personally, a lot of people wonder who Qrow is talking about, where he says, like, I'm sure that's where she lives, like the place where people go and don't come back. I assume, like a lot of other people, he's talking about Salem. And, of course, in one of those places, I'm still going with the island that looks like a dragon. I'm gonna assume that's where she is, just as a random guess. Also, something that I don't think I ever noticed this before with the maps, but after they do, and it could be there the whole time and I just didn't notice, but after they do the sort of sweeping thing where it's like, every part of the world has been like mapped out and they do like that cool holographic thing, the little dragon looking area is like pitch black up at the top, and I don't think I ever noticed that before. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's kind of just like, hey, you probably figured this because it's the dragon place, but yeah, it's pitch black up there, which is where the Grimm, come out of those like tar pits, pretty much. So that I thought was cool, and it shows that it's, with so much of it being black, I think like the 3 little, like the wing-looking islands, I think all 3 of those were jet black as well. So it was like just the top part of, I guess, the dragon. I'm just gonna call it the dragon. So like the top part of the dragon and all 3 of the wings, I believe, are pitch black. So there's a lot of Grimm coming out of those locations, and then I guess moving out to like just the rest of the world. I might have to go back and see if there are any like little black spots throughout the rest of the world, because that would be kind of a cool hint that I may have missed already. So I'm gonna have to check that out again just to kind of make sure, see if they have any like random little black circles throughout the rest of the map, because I didn't even think to look at it. I was just looking at the whole thing like, okay, I've seen the map before, but kind of recognizing now the sort of the jet black kind of basically ink look, because that's where the wells are for the Grimm to come out of. I'm gonna have to see if they have any of those in the rest of the world. Like, oh, that explains how the Grimm get here, because if they all come from up there, there shouldn't be any sort of natural anything that can stop the Grimm, because they're coming off of an island and swimming through the water. So I don't know. Maybe they work together to get off the island. Maybe all the dragon Grimm take all the Beowulfs and everything else, and it's like, all right, we'll just drop you off here, and they just fly her all over the world and just let Beowulfs and Deathstalkers jump off of them. Who knows? But I did enjoy this episode, of course. definitely want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with this now going into, you know, a whole new element of this entire series, because we're exploring the rest of this world, what do you guys want to see for the world of Remnant? Because it's always been that thing where it's like, if it's exposition, typically it's in the world of Remnant. Some stuff is revealed through the show, but for the most part, it's been the world of Remnant. It's like, this is how dust works. This is why people can get shot and it doesn't kill them. This is why people can get stabbed and it doesn't kill them. All that stuff has been explained through the world of Remnant episodes. And every season it's always like, you know, what do we want to know about the world? But now we're really getting into the world, and we're getting new elements. We're getting, you know, Salem, they really don't do this, but I would love to see them do some exposition on, you know, how people can be whatever Salem is. I'm still trying to figure that out, because I'm like, I don't really know if she's human. I don't know if she's like half human, half Grim, if she like infused herself with the ink or whatever that stuff is from those pits. But what is her deal? How the heck does she operate? So I would love, you know, some info on that, and just how things operate a little bit with the different classes and species of human. We have human and faunus, and I feel like Salem's in like her own little camp. It's stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like that's what I want to know, is just what her deal is. But they tend not to get so specific with individual characters, so I'm sure I won't get the chance to have that. But now that we're jumping out into the rest of the world, and it's not just, hey, what about dust and this? Still don't have the semblance thing, which I still want. How do semblances work? Is it family related? Because they do that with Winter and Weiss, and who knows, maybe their brother. But the Schnee family seems to all have ice powers, and then everybody else is just like, you got this. So is it blood related? Is it like you have to have a very specific bloodline? It has to be, I don't know. I mean, maybe the same people from the same area, so it's super close to being the same, which is basically like, I don't know. What I'm thinking in my head is like, that pretty much just sounds like incest to me, but I don't know. So we still don't have the semblance thing, which I really want. But I do want to know what you guys want to see from the World of Remnant episodes this volume. And of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.